Hey, family, get ready for a story that'll grip your heart and leave you speechless. Sandra, a thin teenage girl with old slippers and a sack bag dragging behind her, bent beside a trash bin inside the fancy orchid estate. The morning sun was still lazy, but Sandra was already out, looking for recyclables to sell, just so she could buy a sachet of water for the day. Then came the voice that froze her soul. "Sandra," a voice called out mockingly. She turned. It was Jane, the almighty billionaire's daughter, sitting like royalty in the backseat of her shiny black SUV, her uniform spotless, her nails painted like she was going to a fashion show instead of school. "Can you imagine the pain of being mocked for just trying to survive?" "I left some bread for you in our trash can," Jane shouted, chewing gum loudly. "Don't forget to eat it with the gutter water beside it." "Okay, that's your tea, right?" The driver smirked. The security man at the gate chuckled. The students walking past paused and then exploded with laughter, like they just heard the funniest joke of the year. Sandra's chest tightened. She didn't cry. Not today. Not in front of Jane. She forced a bitter smile and kept moving. But deep down, she wanted to disappear. "Gosh, does this girl ever run out of insults?" she muttered under her breath, clutching her torn bag tighter. "Wait, oh," another girl said from behind. It was Clara, another rich brat from the estate. She rolled her eyes as she spoke. "We need to create a new rule. No poor people should be allowed into this estate again. They reduce the air quality. Next thing, we'll be inhaling poverty." Laughter again, loud, wicked, echoing. One boy snorted and said she should even thank Jane. Free breakfast already. But not everyone was laughing. A younger girl in uniform looked at Sandra with teary eyes and whispered to her friend, "This is not fair. God is watching." Sandra didn't look back. She just picked up a dirty plastic bottle from the ground and dropped it in her bag. But as she walked away, something strange happened. A man in a faded cap, sitting quietly on a bench by the road, sipping tea from a paper cup, watched everything without saying a word. His eyes followed Sandra. He shook his head slowly and whispered to himself, "Tables always turn, and when they do, the sound is louder than laughter. Hold on, because this story is about to take a turn you won't believe." So, one fateful day, it was a quiet afternoon in Orchid Estate. A well-dressed man in a fine suit parked his shiny blue car beside the massive community trash bin near the estate entrance. He looked rich and important, probably one of those business types, always rushing calls and deals. He held a black leather briefcase in one hand and a trash bag in the other. Still talking loudly on his phone, he muttered, Yes, I'll sign the papers today. Give me 5 minutes." With a distracted hand, he tossed the trash into the bin, and without knowing, his briefcase followed it in with a soft thud. He didn't notice. He slammed his car door and drove off, his whole future tossed in the trash like leftover jollof rice. Hours later, Sandra returned. Same time, same place, her usual trash-picking route. She walked barefoot, one toe wrapped with an old rag. The sun had fried her skin all day, and she was already dizzy from hunger. She approached the bin and reached in with a stick, searching for bottles and cans. Then her eyes caught it. A sleek black leather briefcase, still clean, not even stained by the trash. Sandra gasped. "Ah, what is this?" She looked around quickly. Heart pounding. She picked it up. Her hands shook. "Ah, I like this bag. I will keep it for myself. I won't sell it off." Sandra hugged the briefcase like it was gold, placed it gently on top of her sack, and began walking home, barefoot, tired, but feeling like she'd found treasure. Back home, she reached their tiny one-room shack by the drainage. The smell of poverty was permanent there. Old kerosene, stale gari, and suffering. "Mama, I'm back," she called out cheerfully. But her smile vanished. Her mother was curled up on the torn mattress, shivering violently. Her lips were pale. Her eyes rolled up as she groaned in pain. Sandra screamed and dropped everything, her bag, the briefcase, everything. Then rushed to her, Mama, please hang in there." She dipped her hand into her skirt pocket, empty, not even 5 naira. She dashed out and ran straight to the chemist shop down the street. At the chemist's, "Uncle, please. I need Mama's drugs. She's shaking. She can't breathe well. Please give me 1 pack." The chemist, a fat, angry man with a chewing stick in his mouth, looked at her like she was a mosquito. "Ah, you again, Sandra. This is the 3rd day you're coming here without money. Am I running a charity? You think my wife and children eat from your pity?" Sandra clutched the wooden counter and cried, "Please, sir, I will sell the bottles I pick later and pay you. I'm not owing more than 2 days. Please, my mother is dying. I beg you in God's name." The man scoffed. "God's name? And that's the only reason why I'm helping you, but I don't tire." She dropped to her knees. "I'm not begging for me, sir. It's for my mother. Just 1 more dose. Please. You're the only one who helps me. Please don't turn your back today." The chemist sighed loudly, rubbed his bald head, then hissed. "Fine, take it and go. But if I don't see my money by tomorrow, don't enter this shop again. Even if your mama coughs blood, don't come here. You hear me?" Sandra nodded rapidly like a child, grabbed the drug, and ran off barefoot. Later that night, after the drugs kicked in and the fever dropped, Nene finally stopped shivering. Sandra sat beside her on the tiny mat, fanning her gently and wiping her sweat-soaked forehead. "Mommy, please get well soon," Sandra whispered. She gave a small smile, her eyes glowing in the candlelight. "Why?" "Because." Sandra reached beside the mat and dragged the black briefcase closer. "I found this fine bag in the trash today. It looks like something from the market in Lekki. You can use it whenever you're strong enough to go out." Nene chuckled weakly, then coughed. "In this my wrapper and rubber slippers, carrying designer bag? Go where?" Then she looked closely at the briefcase and blinked. "Wait, this bag looks expensive. Sandra, why don't you sell it? Maybe it could help with my hospital bills. I'm scared, my daughter. I feel like time is running out." Sandra's heart cracked. Tears welled up instantly in her eyes. "Mommy, please don't talk like that. I'm trying. I swear I'm trying. I've already paid 45,000 naira out of the 350,000. We will complete it. God will help us. Don't give up, please." Nene nodded slowly, her lips trembling. She reached for Sandra's hand and squeezed it. Then, trying to lift both their moods, she said, "Okay, bring the bag. Let me see this treasure you brought from the dustbin." Sandra giggled faintly, wiped her tears, and unzipped the briefcase. Both of them leaned in. What they saw froze them. On one side were clean, crisp documents, stamped and signed. But then they noticed something stuffed into the inner pocket. Sandra reached in. Bundles of dollar notes, neatly arranged. Then at the bottom, some signed checks. Lots of them. All signed, but the beneficiary names were blank. Nene gasped sharply and coughed. "Sandra," she whispered, nearly choking from fear. Where did you say you got this?" Sandra froze. Her hand shook. "Mama, I swear to God. I picked it just like that from the trash, like someone threw it away. I didn't steal it. I didn't even know all this was inside." There was a long, deep silence. No words, just the sound of the candle flame flickering and their hearts pounding. Nene stared at the money like it was poison and medicine at the same time. She whispered, maybe God sent this. Maybe this is how he wants to heal me. Maybe it's my miracle." Sandra was staring at the bag, too, wide-eyed, lips parted. "Mama, this money, it can take us out of this pain. You'll get treatment. I can go to school. We can eat real food. Live like human beings." Silence again. Then suddenly, both of them turned at the same time, looked into each other's eyes, and said in perfect sync, "Our integrity is more important than our needs." Sandra broke down, crying. Nene smiled weakly through her own tears.
That's my slogan. You've been listening. Sandra nodded, sobbing. Always, Mama.
Nene squeezed her daughter's hand again, this time with more strength than before. If death comes now, she said with a calm breath, my spirit will rest in peace.
That's better than being alive and hiding forever from the fear of my own errors.
Sandra wrapped her arms around her mother and whispered, then we will do what's right. And that night, with the bag still lying between them, filled with enough wealth to change their lives, they slept hungry, but with peace in their hearts. That same night, inside a palatial mansion in Orchid Estate, Mr. Bright, one of Nigeria's youngest billionaires, sat on the edge of his massive leather couch. But there was nothing bright about him tonight. His hands were on his head, his shirt halfway unbuttoned, and his eyes bloodshot from stress. His phone rang non-stop. His wife peeked into the living room. Honey, are you not coming to bed? He didn't even hear her. He whispered to himself, voice cracking. I thought I left it at home. He stood up suddenly and paced like a madman. I've checked everywhere. Bedroom, office, car boot, even the kitchen. I even blamed the driver. But just now, he checked the security footage. He grabbed the remote and played the clip again. On the screen, he watched himself earlier that day, carrying his briefcase while going to his car. No, he groaned and paused the video. How did I even? Oh, God. He collapsed back on the couch and buried his face in his palms. That bag? My entire life is in that bag. His assistant called again. He picked up and barked, don't call me unless you find it. He tossed the phone aside and stood again, eyes wide with fear. It's not just documents, he muttered, pacing faster now. It's the original title to the new hotel chain in Dubai, the merger agreement for the oil deal. If any of those papers leak, if they get into the wrong hands, he clenched his fists. The checks? Oh my God, the checks. He stared blankly at the wall as if seeing his own grave. There are 10 signed blank checks inside that bag, all with my signature. Anyone who fills a name on them can wipe hundreds of millions from my account. No questions asked. My bankers trust my signature. I'm ruined if those checks fall into the wrong hands. He sank to his knees, trembling. My family's inheritance, my father's legacy, everything we've built for 30 years. Tears brimmed in his eyes. Gone, just like that. Over my stupidity. He looked up toward the ceiling. Oh God, where can I find it? And if someone picked it, would they even return it? Just then, his assistant texted. We're checking the estate's CCTV and the company's CCTV, but no luck yet. He flung the phone across the room. As silence filled the mansion, one thought tortured him above all. Whoever holds that briefcase now holds my empire. The next morning, Mr. Bright stood in the middle of his study, looking like a ghost of himself. His usually crisp designer shirt was wrinkled, hair tousled, eyes red. He had been pacing all night, and now he was spiraling. I've searched this entire house, he muttered to himself. Twice. Every room, every drawer, every car. How does a whole briefcase disappear into thin air? His assistant, Kevin, stood nearby, holding a notepad, unsure whether to speak. Bright turned sharply. Are you sure you didn't move it yesterday? No, sir, Kevin replied carefully. You carried it yourself from your home office to the car. After that, no one saw it. Bright slammed his fist on the glass table. That briefcase contains everything. My entire empire is inside it. My Dubai contracts, my US merger agreements, my oil licenses, every major deal I've worked on this quarter gone. He started pacing again. There are original documents in there that can't be duplicated. Legal rights, property claims, government stamps. My God. He paused, breathing hard, then whispered. And those checks, those signed blank checks. He leaned against the wall, eyes wide. Do you know what that means, Kevin? Anyone who finds that bag, anyone, can write their name on a piece of paper and walk away with hundreds of millions. I'll be cleaned out overnight. No one will question it.
It's my signature. It's legal.
He pointed angrily at Kevin.
You think someone inside this house took it?
Kevin looked up nervously. No, sir, but maybe it was taken from the car or at the last meeting venue. Or maybe, Bright interrupted darkly. Someone close to me decided now was a good time to betray me. He turned toward the living room where two housekeepers were sweeping quietly. His eyes narrowed. Everyone in this house is now a suspect. Every driver, every staff member, even security.
Lock down this house.
Nobody goes in or out until that briefcase is found.
Kevin's voice shook. Sir, should we call the police? Bright snapped. And tell them what? That I've lost the heart of my company and 10 signed blank checks? Do you want the press to have a field day?
Kevin stayed quiet.
Bright took a shaky breath.
Then his voice dropped, cold and desperate.
If I don't find that briefcase in 48 hours, I'll lose everything.
Not just money, my reputation, my power, my name. He collapsed onto the couch, whispering to himself, this can't be happening.
This can't be happening.
And all this time, his eyes never once looked toward the trash bin. He still believed it had been stolen. And that meant he was now looking for a thief that didn't exist. Meanwhile, for Sandra, the trash-picking girl, morning came with a nightmare.
Nene's cough rattled through the one-room shack like thunder.
She was burning up again, her body trembling, face pale, lips dry. Mama, please hang in there, Sandra cried, pressing a rag soaked in warm water to her mother's chest.
But Nene's eyes rolled back.
Her breathing was sharp, shallow, and labored. Sandra jumped to her feet, panic taking over. She grabbed her sack of picked bottles from the corner and whispered frantically, Mom, please just hold on.
I'll be right back. I'll get the money. You'll take your drug. You'll be fine. Just please don't sleep. Don't sleep.
She raced out barefoot, her sack bouncing behind her. Sandra darted across the estate road to Mama Jerry's shop, a place stuffed with plastic bottles, cans, and sacks of trash treasures. Mama Jerry, a large woman with a chewing stick in her mouth and wrapper tied around her chest, looked up lazily as Sandra rushed in.
Sandra dropped her sack on the floor.
Please, Ma, please help me. I need to buy drugs for my mom. Buy from me today, even if it's small.
Mama Jerry laughed out loud, shaking her head. Sandra, how many times have I told you? I don't buy crumbs.
If you don't have at least 200 bottles, please, don't come here and waste my time.
Sandra's eyes filled with tears. Please, Ma. It's just for today. My mom is really sick. She's burning with fever. I'll gather more tomorrow. I swear. But before Mama Jerry could answer, voices rang out behind Sandra.
Laughter, loud, cruel, familiar. It was Jane again, surrounded by her crew of billionaire kids, all dressed like runway models on their way to school. They stopped in front of Mama Jerry's shop and burst into laughter.
Oh, look, Jane said mockingly. Trash girl is crying again. Did the flies refuse to follow you this morning? Another girl sneered. You stink, Sandra. Can't you bathe before coming out to our street? This is Orchid Estate, not Trash Town.
A boy added with a smirk. If you wash my underwear, I'll let you eat leftover food from our trash.
It's still better than what you're used to.
The group exploded with laughter, pointing at her like she was a circus act. Mama Jerry shook her head and chuckled softly.
These children, they always pick on you.
I don't know why they hate you this much, Sandra.
God will fight for you.
Sandra picked up her sack quietly, tears falling freely now, her lips quivering. But she said nothing. No insults, no anger, just pain. She rushed to the chemist shop again. Her hands shaking as she counted the few naira notes she earned from selling to a roadside collector on the way. Sir, she whispered, I brought your money for yesterday's drugs. The chemist took the crumpled notes, looked at her like a nuisance, then folded his arms.
What about today? Sandra fell on her knees. Please, just one more dose. She's burning up again. Please, sir. I'll bring the rest tomorrow. I swear on my life.
The chemist sighed, rolled his eyes, then reluctantly handed her the small pack.
Last time, Sandra, you hear me? This is the last time.
If you don't pay in full tomorrow, you'll be begging the devil himself for medicine. She nodded quickly, clutching the pack close to her chest like treasure. And she ran again, barefoot, broken, and desperate, back to the mother who was still waiting.
Barely. A moment later, it was quiet now.
Nene had finally drifted off into a light sleep, the fever subsiding slightly after taking the medicine. Her face was still pale, but peaceful for the first time in days. Sandra sat beside her, wiping her forehead gently, whispering, "You'll be okay, Mama.
I promise."
Then she looked at the briefcase again.
It still sat silently in the corner like a ticking bomb no one could hear. After a long pause, Sandra got up and opened it. Not out of greed, but out of hope.
She began flipping through the documents again. Contracts, letters, legal papers with powerful company names, and foreign addresses. Then she spotted it. On the inside of a signed document was a tiny printed footer.
Contact, +2348002XX.
Mr. Bright A. Edom, Executive Director. Her eyes widened. Finally, she reached into the side pocket of the briefcase and pulled out the glossy pen with silver lining, the one that had a logo she couldn't pronounce. She grabbed a torn receipt from the drug pack and scribbled down the number carefully. She folded it gently, placed it in her skirt, and whispered to her sleeping mother, "Mama, I'll be back soon.
I need to try something." Nene didn't respond, just kept sleeping peacefully.
Sandra stepped out barefoot again, heading down the dusty estate street to the only business center nearby. Her heart beat loudly in her chest. It was her first time holding a number so important. Inside the small kiosk filled with printing paper, old desktop computers, and noisy ceiling fans, she walked to the phone booth counter. "Please, I want to make a call," she said gently, handing over the number. The attendant nodded and dialed it for her. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Far away in his mansion, Mr. Bright's phone buzzed on the table beside him. He glanced at it briefly. An unknown number. He rolled his eyes. "This must be one of those clients I've been avoiding," he muttered. "Maybe they borrowed someone's line to get through." He ignored it. The call ended. Sandra bit her lip. "Please try again." The attendant redialed again. It rang in again. No answer. Sandra sat there on the bench, her knees together, hands trembling. She waited. The number kept ringing, but no one picked up. Eventually, the attendant shook his head. "He's not answering." Sandra forced a smile, but her heart was heavy. "Okay, thank you, sir." She stepped outside into the sun, the street almost empty, the wind brushing her face. She looked down at the little paper with the number again, then folded it slowly and placed it in her pocket. "What do I do next?" she whispered to herself. And with that, she turned and began to walk again. Then, back at home, Sandra tied her scarf tighter around her hair, sweat trickling down her neck. Inside her large, clean trash bag, hidden beneath some folded cans and empty bottles, was the briefcase, that same briefcase filled with checks, documents, and wealth beyond her imagination. But she wasn't thinking about riches. She was thinking about doing what was right. And since no one was picking her call, she decided to check house to house inside the estate for the owner. She approached the first house, the biggest one closest to the estate gate. She cleared her throat, stood up straight, and knocked gently on the small security gate. The gateman, tall with angry eyes and chewing bitter cola, swung the gate halfway open and barked, "No trash for you here today. Trash girl, go away." Sandra held her breath, trying to stay calm. "Please, sir, I'm not here for trash. I just want to know if anyone in this house is looking for something important. Maybe something missing." The gateman threw his head back and burst into laughter. "Missing? And it's you that will help us find it? And with your filthy hands, trash girl, what could possibly be missing here that someone like you can touch? Stinky girl, disappear."
He slammed the gate. Sandra blinked back the tears and moved on to house 2. She knocked timidly.
Another gateman peeped through the gate and hissed.
This one again.
Before she could speak, a woman's voice echoed from the balcony.
What is she doing here? Musa, why are you allowing this dirty thing near my gate? Sandra tried to speak. Auntie, please.
Will you shut up? The woman snapped.
My children are outside.
They will get infected from your poverty. Go, leave before I pour water on you.
Laughter erupted from the children playing on the compound swing.
One of them shouted, Mommy, she looks like the monster in my nightmare.
Sandra bit her lips and moved on to house 3.
This time, the owner of the house opened the gate himself. A middle-aged man with a phone to his ear.
Yes. What do you want? Sandra bowed slightly. Good morning, sir.
Please, I found something, and I'm trying to find who lost it.
Are you missing anything?
The man eyed her from head to toe, then frowned.
Missing something? You think I'm jobless? You want to lure me out so your fellow street boys can rob me? Sandra gasped. No, sir. God forbid. Shut up and leave, he barked.
I don't have time for nonsense. He slammed the gate with such force the dust rose.
She moved to house 4.
This time, a small child opened the side gate and peeped. Hello, trash girl.
Sandra forced a smile. Hi, is your mommy or daddy home?
The child turned and yelled, Mommy, that smelling girl is here again.
A moment later, the mother stormed out in heels, dragging a handbag. What are you doing here, Sandra? I already warned you.
If I see you in front of my house again, I'll report you to the estate chairman.
I'm sorry, Auntie, Sandra whispered. I just wanted to know if you're looking for something important. You want to beg? Beg properly. Stop forming detective.
The woman spat, then hissed and walked past her.
House 5. No one answered. House 6. Another gateman opened and eyed her. What again? You didn't collect enough insults yesterday, or are you doing community outreach? Sandra's voice cracked as she spoke. Please, sir, just tell me. Are you people missing anything important here? I just want to return something. That's all. The gateman frowned. And what thing? Sandra hesitated. I can't describe it. I just need to be sure it belongs to you. He squinted suspiciously. This sounds like juju.
You bring strange something to someone's gate and start asking funny questions.
You want to ruin this family? Go away before I beat you. Sandra took a slow step back. The last house she approached had children on bicycles outside. They laughed at her the moment she stepped near. Here comes Trash Girl. Are you lost again? Check our dustbin. There's leftover bread from the dog. She probably wants to sleep in the trash like yesterday.
Their nanny called out, Children, come away from her.
You don't know what disease she's carrying. Sandra didn't say another word.
She stood quietly in the middle of the road, tears in her eyes, staring at the shining gates and mansions surrounding her. All of them full of noise, power, pride, and cruelty. She whispered to herself, why is doing the right thing always the hardest? Then slowly, she turned and began walking home. Still carrying the bag, still carrying the truth, broken and disappointed. Sandra was halfway down the street when her legs froze. She blinked at the sky, then whispered, No, I can't go home like this. Not yet. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand and took a deep breath. These people won't break me. I'm not doing this for them. I'm doing this for Mama, for my conscience, for my peace. She turned around and kept going. The 15th house, no response. The 16th, dogs barking. No one came to the gate. The 17th, an old woman shouted through the window, Take your poverty somewhere else. The 18th, another disappointment. And then she reached the 19th house. Her heart skipped.
This was Jane's house. Sandra stared at the gate bell, unsure. This girl, if I touch this bell, she will screw me alive. But still, she lifted her hand and pressed it. Silence. She pressed it again. Suddenly, a voice crackled through the speaker. Cold and sharp. Trash girl. Sandra the smelly. What are you doing at my gate? Sandra swallowed hard. Jane. I came to ask something. Just a question. There was a hiss. Then Jane said, Wait there. I'm coming. Sandra stood still, clutching her trash bag tighter. A moment later, the gate swung open. Jane appeared, wearing pink designer shorts and holding a small silver bowl. Before Sandra could speak, Jane flung the bowl's contents, soapy water, straight into her face. Ah! Sandra stumbled back, eyes shut tight from the burning soap. I told you never to pass my house, and now you're pressing my gate. Are you out of your mind, you disease in human form? Just then, a second gate inside the compound opened. Mr. Bright walked out, frowning. He had heard the commotion and came to remind the household of his order. No one in, no one out. His mind was still spinning from his missing briefcase. But when he stepped into the driveway, he froze. There, standing helpless, soap dripping from her face, was a teenage girl holding a trash bag, and his daughter was screaming at her. His brows drew tight. Jane, he said sternly. How many times have I warned you not to look down on anyone? When will you stop this madness? Jane didn't flinch. She folded her arms, smirking. Dad, I told you to chase all these irritating people out of the estate. What are they doing here? We're the richest ones here, and we decide who stays and who leaves. Bright shook his head in deep disappointment and walked past her. He approached Sandra gently. Young girl, he said softly. Please, I'm sorry for what my daughter did. What do you want? Sandra blinked back tears and curtsied. Good evening, sir. I just want to ask, is anyone in your house looking for something? Something valuable? Jane butted in again with a sarcastic laugh. Daddy, I told you this girl is not just poor. She's mad. Maybe she heard you lost a briefcase and now she wants to scam you. Bright ignored her completely. He looked back at Sandra. Yes, I lost something. A bag. A very important one. Sandra nodded slowly. Please, sir, can you mention 3 things inside that bag? Something to prove it's truly yours. Now, Bright's expression changed. Serious, focused. He stepped forward and said calmly, inside the bag are some documents, some foreign currencies, and some signed checks. Blank checks. He held his breath. Please, is that what you found? Sandra didn't answer with words. Instead, she gently dropped her big trash bag on the floor. She knelt, untied it, reached inside, and slowly pulled out the black leather briefcase. Bright's eyes widened instantly. It was the exact same one. His heart jumped. Sandra stood up, walked forward quietly, and handed it over to him, the weight of the entire empire now in her small, trembling hands. Bright held it like a newborn child. His mouth opened, but no words came out. His eyes became glassy. And Jane, speechless for the first time in her life, watched her father fall silent before the same girl she had just mocked. Bright stared at the briefcase in his hands like it was a miracle. His fingers trembled as he opened the first zip, then the second. Inside, everything was untouched. The documents still intact, arranged the same way. The foreign currencies still intact, and the checks, 10 of them, signed but blank, untouched. He let out a long breath of relief, a sound that came from the depths of his soul. But just as he looked up to thank the girl who had just saved his legacy, his eyes caught something, a small brownish-red mark just above her right cheekbone, shaped almost like a fading crescent moon. His breath hitched. His smile slowly disappeared. He took a slow step closer and squinted. Wait. Sandra looked confused. Sir? Bright froze. That birthmark. It couldn't be. He reached for his phone, slowly pulled up an old photo from years ago. A picture of himself as a teenager with his little sister and baby cousin. That same crescent-shaped birthmark sat boldly on the baby's face. The same exact spot, the same exact shape. His lips parted. That mark, that's from our bloodline. Everyone, they have it. He stared harder, his thoughts spinning. But she was reported dead. So, how does this girl have this birthmark? His heartbeat picked up pace. This couldn't be a coincidence. He stepped forward. Young girl, your name is Sandra, right? Yes, sir. What about your mother? Where is she? Sandra looked down and clutched her trash bag again. She's at home. She's very sick. I actually need to rush back now. She just took her drug, and I don't want to leave her for too long. She gave a respectful bow. Goodbye, sir. And just like that, she turned and began to walk away, barefoot, back down the street. Bright watched her go, unable to take his eyes off her, his fingers clenched around the briefcase, his breath shallow. This is far more than returning a missing bag, he whispered to himself. That mark belongs to our family. I've only seen it on blood, never outside. He looked at Jane, who still stood frozen in embarrassment. I must meet her mother today. Without another word, Bright turned back into the house, gripping the briefcase with one hand and pulling out his car key with the other. A storm was about to rise, but not the kind anyone expected. The next morning at Sandra's house, the door creaked open. Mr. Bright stepped quietly into the small, dimly lit room. His expensive shoes barely touched the cracked cement floor. His eyes scanned the worn-out curtain, the peeling paint, the torn mattress on the floor, and then, finally, the frail figure lying under a faded bedsheet. Nene. She was thinner than he remembered. Her face looked tired, pale, her hair covered with a scarf. Yet the moment their eyes met, time folded in on itself. Silence. Then a tremble in his voice. Nene. Her weak eyes fluttered wider. Bright. And then it happened. Two grown souls who had spent decades living separate lives wept. Tears fell slow and steady from both of them. The room held their pain like a grave holds secrets. You told me you were pregnant, Bright whispered, wiping his eyes. And that was exactly the time I traveled abroad, but 6 months later. He looked away. When I came back, they said you died. They said you got very sick, that you passed out, that you couldn't make it. Candy, your roommate, told me everything. How you battled for your life. She even showed me your old sweater. Said it was the last thing you touched. She cried with me. Nene closed her eyes tightly. No, Bright, she said through trembling lips. She lied. Everything they told you was a lie. Bright's head snapped back toward her. What? Nene coughed softly, then continued, 2 days after you left the country, I was leaving my lecture hall, heading toward the hostel, when 3 young men suddenly grabbed me. They tied my face, covered my mouth, and threw me into a van. Bright gasped, his jaw slowly dropping. They drove for hours, then dumped me in an abandoned building with one warning. If I ever showed my face on that campus again, I'd die. She looked at him, her eyes red. I was pregnant, afraid, alone. I had no one to run to. I disappeared into a faraway town, engaged in all manner, just to eat, begged to survive, and when the time came, I gave birth to our daughter. Bright stood still, his hand covering his mouth in horror. My God. Nene's voice broke. She grew up without her father while her mother pretended to be strong. Bright's eyes filled with fresh tears. Nene, the most shocking part is that I married Candy. Nene froze. What? She breathed. She never left my side, Bright said, voice shaking. She stayed. She mourned with me, consoled me, encouraged me to let go of the past, to move on. He placed a hand on his head, stunned. I thought you were dead, and all this time she knew. She knew you were alive. Nene nodded slowly. Because she planned it. I know she did. They both went quiet,
the weight of betrayal suffocating the air between them.
I'm sorry, Bright whispered. I had no idea.
I didn't know my child was out there suffering while I lived in affluence and pride.
God, I never even looked. Nene's voice cracked. She grew up picking trash, Bright. She suffered.
She was mocked, bullied, called names you would never believe.
While your daughter was starving, Candy was living in gold.
Bright sat on the floor beside her, his hands shaking.
Where is she now? He asked. Sandra, where is she? Nene smiled faintly.
She went out to sell bottles to pay for my drugs.
She does that almost every day.
Bright wiped his face and nodded slowly.
Not anymore.
He stood to his feet and looked down at the woman he once loved. The woman whose life was stolen by lies.
I lost everything once, he said. But I will not lose my daughter again.
And with that, he turned toward the door, ready to rewrite the story that fate had once buried.
2 weeks passed.
Nene, once pale and fragile, now sat up in her hospital bed, healthy, strong, her cheeks full again, her eyes glowing with peace. Sandra sat beside her, dressed in a fine lilac gown, eating from a plate of warm jollof rice garnished with grilled chicken, the kind of food she had only seen through glass displays. She wore soft slippers now, not the torn ones that made her feet bleed. Her hair was braided and neat. She had clothes, food, warmth, and a peaceful mother.
All thanks to Mr. Bright.
But to Sandra, it was all just part of his thank you. Not once had anyone told her the truth, that she was his flesh and blood, the biological daughter of the richest man in the estate. That morning, the doctor walked into the room, smiling.
Good news, Madame Nene, he said brightly.
You're being discharged this afternoon. You're as strong as a lioness now. Nene smiled with joy and held Sandra's hand tightly.
A few hours later, a sleek black SUV pulled into the compound of Bright's mansion.
The large gates opened automatically, welcoming home the family fate tried to erase. As they stepped out and into the house, Jane, who had just returned from school, walked into the living room, juice box in one hand, phone in the other, and her jaw dropped, her eyes widened.
Wait a minute, she squinted.
She pointed rudely.
Aren't you Sandra, the smelly one? Trash girl? Why are you looking beautiful now?
She scoffed and rolled her eyes.
Anyway, no matter what you wear, you're still the smelly one inside.
I don't care if they bathe you in imported perfume.
Trash is still trash.
She turned and screamed upstairs.
Mommy, come and remove this smelling girl from our house. Daddy has finally brought her home.
Bright was seated silently beside Nene on the couch, holding her hand with calm but determined energy. Then high heels clapped angrily down the stairs.
Candy.
She stormed into the sitting room like a tornado, her lipstick sharp, her mood sharpest.
What is the meaning of this? She snapped. Bright, why is that girl here? Are we now running a shelter? She can't stay here.
But the moment her eyes fell on Nene, she stopped mid-step. Her mouth fell open.
Her body trembled.
You, she whispered.
You're still alive. How? How did you find him?
Bright finally spoke, slowly, bitterly.
So you knew.
Candy turned slowly, stunned.
What?
You knew she was alive all along, he said coldly. All these years, you looked me in the eye, Candy, and you lied to me. You knew I had a daughter suffering out there, my own child. And you kept me in the dark so you could play wife.
Candy's voice cracked. Bright, I can explain.
You can't explain anything, he snapped, his voice rising to his feet.
Because I'm not ready to listen to a single word from you.
He looked at her with a calm that was scarier than any shouting.
You are leaving my house today. You and your daughter.
I think it's time you go find her real father, if you even know who he is.
Candy gasped, trembling. Bright, you can't do this.
He stepped back and said firmly, my family is here. My wife and my daughter, and from now on, all my time, my love, my focus belongs to them. Jane, who had been standing behind the couch in shock, finally found her voice.
She stepped forward, stuttering. Dad, what are you saying? Are you not my father?
Bright turned to her, pain written across his face.
I raised you, he said quietly. I loved you like my own. But your mother was already pregnant when I married her. He looked away briefly.
I was broken, mourning a woman I thought I lost forever, and your mother played the perfect game.
Jane's eyes widened in disbelief. You're saying you're not my real father? Bright nodded slowly. And she claimed she didn't know who your real father was.
I stayed out of confusion, guilt, and brokenness. Candy slumped onto the floor, her makeup streaked with tears.
But now, Bright turned to Sandra. I've found what was stolen from me.
What was mine, my child, my blood, and I will not lose her again. Nene, seated quietly through it all, reached for Sandra's hand.
Sandra, still stunned, turned to Bright.
Sir, she asked, confused.
I don't understand. What are you saying?
Bright knelt in front of her, took her hand, and whispered through tears, You're my daughter, Sandra.
My one and only child.
The room fell into silence, except for Sandra's gasp and the sound of her heartbeat rising as her world changed forever. Hours later, the gate creaked open.
Jane staggered out first, dragging a glittery pink suitcase behind her.
Her eyes were swollen from crying. Her once proud shoulders slumped like wilting flowers. Her mother, Candy, followed closely, pulling a box and clutching her handbag like a lifeline. The mansion's security man didn't even offer to help them. They stepped into the sunlight and into silence because, outside the gate, just across the street, a crowd had gathered. The other estate billionaire's children, the same ones who once mocked Sandra, who laughed at her bruised feet and smelly clothes, stood frozen, eyes wide with disbelief.
One of the boys whispered, Is that Jane? What's happening? A girl gasped, Wait, you didn't hear? Jane's not even Mr. Bright's real daughter.
He sent her and her mom packing.
What? Another child muttered, Then who was his real daughter?
They all turned as a black Mercedes-Benz SUV slowly pulled up to the gate. Inside, in the back seat, sat Sandra. She was dressed in a beautiful top and jeans with white flats. Her braided hair fell over her shoulder like royalty, and her face glowed, not from makeup, but from peace. The peace that comes when the truth finally finds you.
Her window rolled down.
Good morning, she called out softly, smiling and waving at the same children who once threw bread at her and called her trash girl. One girl, stunned, whispered, She's greeting us.
She's still greeting us. Another repeated. Sandra's voice was warm. Hope you're all doing well.
No pride, no payback, no insult, just kindness.
Even the drivers and gatekeepers stared. Someone said, So this is how life works?
Another muttered, We used to laugh at her, and now the school we attend belongs to her father.
We even eat free food there because of their scholarship program.
A panicked boy whispered, We need to make peace before she resumes school. She may decide to shut the door on us.
Someone groaned, What kind of apology can fix all we did to her? But Sandra smiled again. Take care, everyone.
As her driver pulled out of the gate and into the estate road, the children stood frozen, not from fear, but from the weight of their own shame. And Jane, now sitting on her mother's box, watched the car disappear. The very car that should have been hers. All she could whisper was, It should have been me.
But it never was. Because grace doesn't follow pride. It follows truth.
And Sandra, the girl they threw away, had just been crowned not just as heir to Mr. Bright's empire, but heir to respect. Because while they mocked her for smelling like the gutter, she had always smelled like destiny.
Hello, family at Innocent Stories. Have you seen how the girl they mocked became the girl they admired?
The same hands that picked trash now hold the keys to an empire.
3 moral lessons. 1. Never look down on anyone. Today's nobody could be tomorrow's ruler. 2. Kindness and integrity will always take you farther than pride.
3. The truth may hide for years, but one day it shows up, shining brighter than gold. Thank you so much for watching, my besties at Innocent Stories. Don't forget to appreciate, subscribe, comment below, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this powerful story. I love you all deeply, and yes, you are my besties forever. See you in the next video on innocent stories.